Y'all, I will take the problems that come with organizing this many people to get baptized, and we're not done yet. So sorry, we're ADD, so Derek and I panicked. That's what we do. Hey, is that light not working, Derek? Am I gonna have to stay on this side of the stage? Can we get those on? There they go. There we go. Yeah. Y'all don't want to watch me in the dark. I'm crazy enough in the light. I'll go with the problems of craziness like that. Also, you're going to tell me thank you after this. I'm going to preach barefooted so you don't hear my chubby tail flapping my sandals. I'm going to show them stretch. I'm going to show them. So, I'm going to show them. Band, y'all can kind of shift out now if y'all want to. I think I'm right about that. It's crazy today. Also, y'all get to preach today and see my ashy legs because it's baptism and it's what it is what it is. But we're going to get better today. All these stories are people who took ownership of their stories, and even though they didn't feel they had hope, even though they didn't feel they had the best days in front of them, they decided that they'd put hope to the test. You know, we're a culture of people, we like instant. We do. We love instant. Even people that say they don't, that's what they want. We love instant. We built a culture of instant. Keurig gives us instant coffee. Insta-Pot gives us this glorified crock pot, which to me isn't even that good. Instagram gives you instant telegrams. And even though a lot of people love Instagram a lot, I'm still old school. I like Facebook. It's just easier to work for my old self. We love quick. We love instant. We love it instant. We want it all, and we want it instantly. We want it instantly. The problem with that is the most beautiful things in life, the things that are important, will never be instant. The important things in your life will never be built instantly. And the problem is our culture has enabled us to believe that the most beautiful things and the things that have deep depth and the things that have substance come quickly, because they never will. They never will. It wasn't that way for Jesus. It wasn't that way for anybody in the Bible, and it will not be that way for you. So if I can get rid of that lie today, I can begin to help you live better. The people signing up for baptism today are not signing up for simple. When you go all in for Jesus, when you decide that life has been what it's been, but today I'm going to change what I'm doing and see what happens, that will never be simple. When you go all in, it may be crazier, because we're going to see that today. But what I want you to know is I want to preach a message today entitled Insta-Fixes Are Fake. Come on, man. Come on. Insta-Fixes. There's some things in your life you want God to fix right now, and He wants to do some things a lot bigger and a lot slower, but it'll be better. Matter of fact, if you haven't shared our Facebook video, if you'll go to our Facebook page right now, and when you share this video, share hashtag where my promise at. Yes, I just went ghetto fabulous for a reason. Because a lot of people want to know where their promise at, and it's right in front of them. They're just wanting something bigger, faster, and it's never going to happen. Because Insta-Fixes are fake. Insta-Fixes. All right, you know, we tell people too much. You know, I hear it preached from the platform all over. I have for years. In seminary, they used to preach this at the seminary chapels. They'd say, if you sin, things fall apart. If you do wrong, things are going to line up. Well, you know what? If you do right, things are going to go wrong a lot of times. Things are going to fall apart when you do right. Matter of fact, the thing I've discovered in my life, I've never done it perfectly, but I've given God all I had for as long as I can remember. And really, that's when the crap really goes sideways. We love to tell people, you do right, things will go right. No, when you do wrong, bigger things will be built in you, but things are going to go to crap sometimes. But we love to preach that. We love to preach that. And I want to preach a deeper message today because it's not true. Look at Jesus. Came to the earth, lived perfectly. And not the Romans killed him. His own people that he played with on the playground killed him. Romans just were the way they did it. Things don't go right when you do. Matter of fact, when you commit and go all into God, you're not signing up for simple. I will tell you that when you commit to Jesus, you're signing up for more complicated. You're signing up for more messy. Sometimes you're signing up for seasons where life is so dysfunctional, you will lose your mind. I'm going to tell you something about that. I started thinking about my life. Life is more complicated for me now. But I'm stronger at 34 than I was at 24 because I fought a decade of battles. a decade longer battles. I'm a stronger Christian. I love Jesus with all my heart. I'm deeper. I'm stronger at 34 because for the last decade I've been through hell, but I've come out better. Come on, son. And I'm going to tell you something else. At 34, there's things that I go through now that 5 years ago would have crippled me, my confidence, but they don't anymore. They make me better because 5 years later, things got more complicated and God built some depth in my commitment by challenges. Challenges that don't make sense. Challenges that are so complicated you can feel like in the situation that God is not in it. I will tell you this, Catalyst Church. 10 years from now, at 44, I will be able to preach about things, if I do this thing right, I will be able to preach about things that I couldn't even wrap my mind around at 34. At 54, you will say he's not the same guy he was if you're still here at 34, because God is going to put us through hell to allow us to find true healing, because deep things take time. Insta-fixes are fake. True life challenges, true life change happen when you have to fight. And in fighting, you figure out what matters and what doesn't. And you quit fighting for crap that don't matter. And you start fighting for stuff that does. That's when change happens. And I'm going to prove it today. Because when you decide to build something with your life bigger than yourself, get ready. It's getting complicated. It's going to get hard. Every person under the sound of my voice that got baptized today or getting baptized, know that today you're signing up for a lot more because God wants to do more. And in your life, when you decide to go all in, you don't decide that things are going to get simple. You decide no matter what, God, we're in this thing together and we're going to grind it out. Hallelujah. And I want to show you that today. He will restore what's broken. He'll give you back the years you lost and then some. But you got to realize, many of us, all of us have made no decisions, easy decisions, bad decisions for years. And to build something bigger than you, that lasts longer than your life, that leaves some love behind, that gives people hope in their stories, that stuff takes a little while. Come on, man. Come on. It takes a while. That 50 pounds didn't get put on overnight. Come on. And it's going to take a while. It's not coming off overnight. That GPA didn't plummet overnight. And it's going to take some time and some diligence to bring it back up. Your marriage didn't fall apart overnight. And you better believe to get the healing that what God wants to do, what God has for your marriage, is going to take some time, not insta-fixes. It's going to take some time to rebuild the trust that you lost over the last 15 years with your partner. It's going to take some time to start doing healthy things that lead to a whole marriage and not living in the dysfunction and codependency you're living in. It's going to take some time because insta-fixes are fake and God is a God of the long haul. It's going to take some time. Do you know that Paul was in prison several times? The book of Philippians, I say that because I can't stop enunciating that M. I don't want to hear Derek talk about it today, so I'm just going to throw it out there. I have a hard time. I know how to say the book here. It's here that it has a hard time coming out. In the book of Philippians, Paul was in prison because he did the right thing. Just so y'all know, Paul wrote 13 books of the New Testament. 4 of them he was in prison. The book of Philippians was the worst season of his life. Scholars have come to believe that it was the most broken moment of any book he wrote in the New Testament, yet he was the most encouraged. He was the most encouraged in the most painful moment of his life. I'm going to tell you why. It was because he was confident in the process. I want to give you my point right now. The process is the most beautiful part of the promise of God. A lot of us who like insta-fixes, we like to believe that the promise of God, that the prayer getting answered is the most beautiful part. We like to believe that your dream becoming a reality is the most beautiful part. We like to believe that the breakthrough is the most beautiful part of the blessing of God. But I've got news for you today. It's not true. The most beautiful part of the promise of God is right in front of you. God, it's the process. And if you can have confidence in the process, you'll see the promise and you'll enjoy whatever you're living in right now because you know God's going to use it. But if you want Insta-Fixes, if you want it quick, if you want it now, I'm going to tell you something. You'll never see the value in the most important season you're sitting in right now, the process. God, the promise of God we have come to believe is getting prayers answered. No, it's the person you're becoming while you're waiting. It's the person you're becoming while the dysfunction is keeping your head beneath the water. The process is the most beautiful part of the promise of God, and I'm going to drill that today. Paul was in prison in a terrible season of his life. He had the highest hopes and the highest confidence, not in the situation, not in the prayers getting answered. But I'm about to show you the confidence he had in the process. He was in prison, but not because people that didn't like him. There was people jealous of him that put him in prison. Just so you know, Philippians, the prison sentence he was dealing with in this book, what we're about to read, is because of people who were preachers just like him. But they weren't as good and weren't doing it like him. So they wanted to keep him in prison so they can do their things. That'll preach a whole nother message. We're not going there. My point is, Paul was doing the right thing, and he was sitting in prison for it. Some of you, you've tried to do the right thing in your life. It's been all wrong, and you think God's not in it, or he doesn't isn't even real. The proof sometimes that God is in it is when you don't feel him. And Paul says in Philippians 1:6, it's always been one of my favorite verses, and I get to preach on it today. Paul says, in a jail cell chained to the ground, being confident of this. He says, I'm confident in it. I'm in prison, but I'm confident. Being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it into completion until the day of Jesus Christ. Paul said, I'm confident in the process, not what I'm praying for. I'm more confident in what God is doing inside of me, even though I'm going through some stuff that doesn't make sense in front of me. And they're doing things to me. They should be for me. They're not for me. I'm not staying there. I'm trusting God in the most beautiful part of the promise of God, the process. And you right now in your chair are in the most beautiful part of the promise of God, what he's doing right now. In the stuff that doesn't make sense, in the stuff that shouldn't have happened, but guess what? It did. What are you going to do about it? Paul said the promise of God is in the process. I'm confident in the process. Paul in this verse says, I'm more confident in the process that God is still on the throne even when I'm sitting in jail and shouldn't be. I'm going to write books and they're going to be read. He didn't know they're going to be read for 2,000 years later. He was writing them to churches he had planted because he never stopped working what was in front of him even when he was in prison and shouldn't be. The process. The process. You know what we've come to believe in American Christianity is we believe that the promise of God is something that is going to happen. That is a lie from the pit of hell, and you will never live the potential. I'm preaching this message so you'll build something that matters with your life.
Come on. Take your time, brother. Come on.
The promise of God is not something that is going to happen. It's something that's happening right now. Will you get on board with it? Will you get on board with it, or will you sit in the stuff that doesn't make sense? Will you sit in your insecurities that everybody else told you, that the person who abused you, that overlooked you, told you, or didn't tell you? What are you going to do about it? Because the most beautiful part of the promise of God is the process. Not the product, not the miracle, the making of the miracle, and the person you're becoming in the meantime. Paul said it doesn't make sense, but he says it in the first chapter of the book. He's sitting in prison. He says, I'm confident that the work of God will be completed and is being completed now until the day that I go home. And it may not make sense, and I don't know how it's going to look right. And we're going to see in a little bit, he lost his life real young, but he went to an actor's grind, lost his head saying, God, it doesn't make sense, but you promised to make it right, and I'm going to trust you. In this life and the next. You'll never trust him in the next life till you trust him now. That's what it's about. So, the work of God, the promise of God is not when your GPA goes up. It's when you actually try and see the talent that God put in you when you freaking try. The work of God, the promise of God is is not in you losing 100 pounds. It's in the person you become as you make life changes and you realize that food doesn't have to be my life. There's more to live for. I was given a gene. I'm telling you, anybody that struggles with weight, I get on the scale 3 times a day because I don't want to be 300 pounds. I look at food and gain weight, but the person you're becoming now. I've seen people lose 200 pounds and still be miserable, more miserable. You know why? They lost the weight and realized they still didn't find what they were looking for because they missed the promise of God in the process. They missed the promise of God right in the middle of when he was working the most. The miracle is not where it happens. The making of it is where it happens. That's where it happens. You giving your all and seeing what God does as you rebuild your marriage over time, as you redefine your relationship and all that was broken, or as you have to walk away because divorce is divorce. But you walk away not bitter because of what they did. You walk away saying, God, you're bigger than what they did. Check this out. You're not just bigger. He's not just bigger than what they did. He's bigger than the stupid stuff you did. Because we do stupid stuff. We love to get pissed off about what they did. But sometimes, pretty much all the time, we contributed. But God is bigger. And God is in the process. Look at your neighbor and say, he's in the process. Look at your other neighbor and say, where my promise at? Look at me right now and say, he's in the process. He's in the process. That's where he's at. He's in the process. The promise of God is in your life as you decide you still have some life to live if you'll choose it. The promise of God is when you're in recovery from addiction and you say, you know what, I've lost a lot of years, but I'm not focused on what I've lost. I'm focused on what's left. The promise of God is in the process as you realize what Heather and Will did. I don't think I have hope, but I'm going to put it to the test and see what God can do. The promise of God is in the process, not the product. The most beautiful part about what God does is in the moments you don't feel Him. You don't feel Him. True life change doesn't happen when you get the miracle. It happens in the meantime when God is making it. Period. The person, God will use every bit of pain. He will use every problem. He will use every poor choice. He will use every setback. And in the promise is that He's making you the person you're called to be. Not in spite of it. That's not the gospel. Because of it. Because of the stupid stuff, He'll make you better. Because of the abusive stuff that you went through, He promises. But you got to trust the process, not be looking for the prayer answered. God's right in the middle of it when you don't think He's answered it. When He hadn't answered it. When He hadn't answered it. You want me to prove this to you? You want me to prove this to you? So that you can quit focusing on what you're praying for next and sit in what God's doing now. Let me just try. How many of y'all are parents out there? I know we got a lot of parents. If you're not a parent, I want you to remember this when you have kids. If you think Insta-Fixes aren't fake, listen to me. Think about your child from the season you were changing their diapers to the season they graduated. Think about that. If you think about that and you tell me Insta-Fixes are fake, you're blind. Think about your child when they graduated high school to the moment they walked an aisle and got married. And think about the season of who they were then and who they are now. Even if they're not there, they're a long way from where they were. Think about it. And you'll realize Insta-Fixes aren't fake. They take time. Think about your child when they walk through a season of discouragement, when they have to start over because of addiction. They got set back. They got a divorce. Think about the person they are to the moment that you were the most proud when you realize my child became the person they were because of all the crap they've been through and chose. And then tell me Insta-Fixes are fake. Instant coffee's fine. Instant destiny will never happen. And I hate coffee, so give me my Sprite Zero, dog. Look at it. When I look back at who I was 5 years ago, when I look back at the kid I tried to be in high school, trying to be everything I wasn't, I realize Insta-Fixes are fake because God is, was, and will always be in the process. When you get to the promise, you're going to see it, but you need to enjoy it right now. Know that God's in it. Have faith that He's in it. Insta-Fixes are fake, and they don't last when they seem like they're happening. They don't seem like it. It may seem like it. So for the rest of this message, I want to give you hope. Because if I can change the way you see what's in front of you, you'll change the way you go about it, believing and living. And I promise you the results will change over time, not tomorrow.
Hallelujah.
I want to give you hope so that you will make the most of the process. Can I do that just for a couple minutes? I want to take you to 2 Peter chapter 4. This is for all my people out there that have been taught that in some way, and I'm still this way, I've still been poisoned by some of this theology that if things fall apart in my life, I must be doing wrong, and that's not always the case. Matter of fact, it's not most of the time in my life. And I want to tell you what wasn't true in Peter's life. All my people that you've lived and you think when things go wrong, you must be doing wrong. I want to talk to you about what Peter said. 2 Peter 4. Dear friends, read that with me. Don't be surprised at the fiery trials you are going through, as if something strange were happening to you. Verse 13, instead, be very glad. For these trials make you partners with Christ in his suffering, so that you will have the wonderful joy of seeing his glory when it's revealed to all the world. He says, I'm in the process. When you see the promise, when you win, you're going to see that I was in it the whole time. He's in the process. Peter says, don't count it strange. Don't think it's weird when things fall apart. He said, no, it happened to us. It's going to happen to you. You remember what Jesus said? He said, a servant is not better than his master. When the world hates you, remember they hated me first.
Come on. Hallelujah.
The promise of God is in the process. In the person you're becoming right now. If you will take it seriously. Peter says, don't count it strange. He says the heartbreak had to happen for the healing to happen. The pain had to happen for you to become the person you are and the promise, the plans that God has before you. It had to go down like that, y'all. Peter said the detour, the destiny's in the detour, not the shortcut. You want to make $150,000 in 2 years? You just started working 2 years ago. Dream on. And if it happens, I don't think you're ready to build something with it. So you'll probably spend several years wasting it before you realize how to manage money. Because I learned how to manage money in the years that I was at Walmart making nothing. Sometimes being broke teaches you how to enjoy it when you get some money if you use that time. Peter said, yeah, that's true. I'm going to say that some more for y'all. Sometimes the greatest training for having some money is not having money. I'm going to use that again in a few weeks when y'all forget about it. Let me tell you something. Peter says, don't worry, it's going to happen. Now, I want to leave you with one of my favorite verses ever. I want to leave you with this verse. I want to tell you about what else happened to the Apostle Paul. He was shipwrecked in transition from prison to prison. He was snake bitten. He was stoned one time, left for dead. And this joker goes back in the city that stoned him and still leads them to Christ. They say, oh my God, who is this cat? We thought we killed him. Yeah, all for doing the right thing. He was beaten over and over. He used to sing hymns in prison before God broke the jail cell. Before he knew that God was going to break the jail cell, he was going to walk out and lead a revival. He was still singing to God in the middle of the prison. Because his praise and his faith wasn't based on what God did. It was based on the fact that God was in the process.
Thank you, Jesus.
God is in the process. And I want to read to you this verse. And I want to tell you, his life ended soon. For those of you who were wondering why your good daddy or your good husband or your good mom or your good aunt died so young from cancer, so did Paul, for doing it the right way. Paul went to an axe's grind, lost his head because of people that were jealous and a Roman Empire that didn't find Christ yet. But guess what? They would. Because long after Paul got beheaded, they were still hearing his story. And eventually the Roman Empire came to Christ because those people we call the disciples didn't stop. And I want to read you this verse that he tells you that is exactly what I'm preaching. Y'all ready for this? This is one of the most hope-filled verses in the New Testament. For our light affliction. Look at your neighbor and say, what the heck is he talking about? Light affliction? You just told me what he went through and how he died. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. He said, whatever's going on in front of you, whatever they did to you, whatever you did to yourself is nothing. It's not as big as what I'm doing inside of you if you will embrace the process and quit focusing on the prayer and getting answered. Quit focusing on where you want to be and focus on what God's doing right now. He says, have confidence, Catalyst Church, in the process, even though you don't feel Him. Have confidence when there's no money in the bank. Know that God is in it when there's no money. Know that God's in it when there's no resolution and reconciliation in your marriage. God is in the process. Paul said this light affliction, what I'm facing right now is nothing compared to what God is doing and will do long after I'm dead. Don't worry that the kids are still struggling with addiction right now. I know it's breaking your heart, but God is in the process. He's present in the process. Don't worry about it. It may be going wrong, but God promises it'll be right if you'll keep focusing. He doesn't tell you you're going to be able to know what it looks like, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. God is doing something special right now. Quit focusing on next week. Quit focusing on 20 years. Single people, make the most of the process right now. Quit daydreaming about what marriage looks like and become a better man and woman in the process. Because marriage problems happen when you don't embrace the process at 25 and you're divorced at 30. Or you're in a miserable marriage and waking up to somebody you can't stand because you didn't enjoy the process because you were focusing on what's next. The promise of God is in the process. It's in the process, Catalyst. It's in the process. Right now, in the moments you don't feel Him, He has more presence than in the moments you see Him all over the place. God says, my presence is in the process. My presence has been there all the time. You're waiting for me to show myself in the answer to the prayer. I'm here right now when you don't feel me. Don't think it's strange your life is falling apart. That guy that wrote that, Peter, don't count it strange. The guy got crucified upside down. Historically, he had a more painful death than Jesus. But he realized God's in the process. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know He's doing something. You ready, Catalyst? I want to share this. This is the end of my message. I want to share this, and I want you to hear me. I want you to hear me. When I was 7 years old, I accepted Christ real young in a backseat of a car going to visit my Nanny Brock. 7 years old, I had dreams. I had strong dreams, and I told my mom on Highway 27, passing where Ingalls is now, it wasn't there back then. I told my mom, I said, I feel like it's time to get baptized. I feel like I want to follow Jesus. I had accepted Him a long time ago, but at 7, you have more of a conscious, I'm all in. And I did. I got baptized at the church that I eventually would be an associate pastor at. Fast forward to 31 years old, Derek and I, God had spoken to us for several years that we were going to plant a church. I'm not going into details. I'll share those from time, not today. The point is, the dream of this church didn't happen like we prayed and dreamed about. It didn't happen. It happened because of a death of another church that we weren't responsible for, but we were leading. It was a terrible situation. Terrible situation. We started this church on empty. 6 months into Catalyst, our first baptism, 2017, at my backyard pool. We didn't have all this. Most of you don't remember our old spot. There was no baptisms. We had our first baptism Father's Day weekend, 2017, and Derek and I realized we were grieving over what we were villainized for, what things that weren't our fault, that actually we were the reason things were good for a while. Derek and I decided that on that first baptism at Catalyst, we were going to recommit and we were going to get baptized. That Saturday before Father's Day, I baptized all my kids again. I baptized Angie, Derek baptized me, and I baptized Derek. My son Garrett got baptized for the first time. He was 7, the same age as me, when I got baptized. Derek and I committed. We didn't commit to easy. We didn't commit to simple. We committed that it's time to let go of what it was and commit to whatever it's going to be. But God is going to be in the middle of it every moment. We didn't sign up for easy. We knew it wasn't easy, but we decided that day was a point where it was time. If we were going to step into the next season, it was time to leave the baggage in last season. I had preached for 6 months. I hated preaching worse. Preaching was a job those first 6 months of Catalyst. I just was faithful even though I didn't feel it. I look at sermons I preached the first 6 months of Catalyst. I'm ashamed. We decided we were going to commit. I wish we'd have gave them the picture of when we baptized. It was a moment that was commitment. The next year and a half, I get that was 2017, so over 2 years now. We saw this church has exploded. I mean, no church in this population context has ever seen growth this fast, but I want to tell you that whatever Catalyst has been for you, it was far from easy for us and you. Because if it's easy, your dream's not big enough. Because beautiful things aren't instant. We committed that day, so I'm just going to let you know that day, the last 2.5 years, Derek and I both have had more health issues than we had the first 32 years of our life combined. And I'm saying that when Derek had cancer in 2010. Derek had a kidney stone this time last year. I had bladder surgery a couple weeks ago. I preached sick for 2 months. I preached for 3 months in withdrawals because I was coming off my medication. I'd been on for 50. I got to see what a drug addict really, what it feels like to come off, and it gives me mercy. I preached with the flu 3 times. Derek had so much anxiety that they thought for months that he was having heart issues. I was like, he's planted a church and his heart's about to explode. I could name some more, but there's no reason. My point is that we didn't commit to easy. And whatever you see in our lives that is good, I promise you it's been hell. But it's been worth it. I didn't commit to sign up for easy. I plan on dying one day, and spiritually I want to be so worn out because I left it all right here just like Jesus asked me to. He's in the process. Will you bow your head with me right now? A lot of people here right now, it's time to make a decision. You're not going to go to the next level until you leave people, habits, and things behind. You're not going to the next season carrying stuff that's holding you back from the next season. And right now, you need to admit, God, I need you. Jesus, I need you. I don't feel you, but I want to have faith that you're here, and I want to do life with you. You're in a season, and you will not go to the next season. You will not make the most of right now. You will not see the work of God until you give in to it. So there's somebody here right now, you need to say yes. You need to take him seriously. He made the promise. It's on him if you take it seriously and it doesn't happen, but you need to take it seriously if you want the seasons ahead and what's in front of you to be what it can be and not what it has been. So if that's you, if you need to make a decision for Jesus or you need to recommit your life for Jesus right now in your heart, as I say it aloud, you need to say this, and it may not make sense what life has been, but today you're going to do it differently. You're going to change some things up, and you're going to see what God can do when you go all in. Say this prayer in your heart as I say it aloud. Jesus, I'm all in. I'm taking you up on the cross. I'm taking you seriously. Thank you for dying for me. And thank you for living for me. And today I choose to live for you. I commit to you. I'm going all in, not for what you can do for me, but what you've already done and what you're doing now. You are God, and I give you everything. Look at me. If you said that prayer, I'm not going to have hands raised. We're not doing that. We're doing something different. We got some people out there that you're in the season I was at 7. God put it on your heart for a reason. You're thinking, I'm taking this seriously, and at 7 years old, I knew it. Back then, I had to go meet with the pastor, and I wasn't afraid. It wasn't a meet with the pastor to talk. It was a meet to get approved for baptizing. I didn't care what was going on then. And maybe you've never really taken God seriously. You don't have to be 7. You can be 97. But today, your life starts the best of it. Not the easiest. The process. The promise. And you may be where I was at 7. You may need to say, my life changes today. What I'm doing changes. The way I see it changes. Or you may be like we were at 31. You may be saying it's time to recommit. I've wasted a lot of years. I've hurt a lot of people. More than anybody, I've hurt myself. And you need to recommit. Your life may be in a struggle. You may be in a bad place. You may be in a good place, but just know you haven't taken God seriously, and you need to make a decision. You need to make a decision. It's time to do this thing seriously. So guess what we got today? We got everything you need if you want to get in that tank. This church has invested in clothes, and if you're getting Santa pictures, we got everything you need, ladies, blow dries, whatever you need to get fixed up. We're going to be here till 2 with Santa. If he's put it on your heart, it's not me pressuring, it's God asking. God is a gentleman, and God will never force you to let his love in. Will you stand with me? God's calling. And if God is on your heart, it's on there for a reason. Don't say no anymore. We love you. This is a safe place. If this is your first time, you need to know the reason we do what we do is to make you know that this is it. Bring it all to the table. Bring it all to the table. We've got everything you need. When I say that, everything, when this song starts, when I begin praying, if God's calling you to take it seriously, if you're saying, I'm going all in, Jesus died for me, he lived for me, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to see his glory. I'm going to see what he can do when I do something about it. Are y'all ready to grow? If that's you, we got everything you need. We got people waiting out that door. When this song starts, you go out that door. We will shift you around here. There's no rush. We got more people to baptize before you. But today is the day that your life starts. Your life didn't start the day you were born. Your life started the day you decided to live. Not in what you lost, in what's yet, and what's now. So I'm going to pray. And we love you, and we're here. Nobody will ever look twice. We are celebrating. If it's you, if it's a commitment or recommitment, you need to go out those doors. And we will celebrate you, and we will wait here as long as you need, and we're going to celebrate Christmas together. Y'all ready? We're going to see what God can do when we go all in, because he promises bigger things, and bigger things take time to build. Lord, right now, I pray if anybody has it on their heart, that they're not going to be afraid. We've seen Will. We've seen guys in there shaking. We've seen Terry. We see them shaking, but they did it scared. And you honor us when we take you seriously, even if it means doing it scared. Lord, if it's on their hearts, give them, let them have faith, Lord. Give them strength to step out and see what you can do. Somebody's life starting today. And we are going to sing this song like we mean it and like you're in it. And we are going to be stronger for whatever life has been, not in spite of it, because of it. In Jesus' name, amen. Song starting, shift out the door. If that's you, go for it. Worth a little bit longer today? All right, so we haven't really put this out there very much, but I want you to know something. Next week, we're starting a big part of our next step as a church. You're going to see a lot going around. Matter of fact, when you see the series, it's really not a series. That's our hashtag is going to be, this is not just a series. We're going to be starting next week a theme. Who we're going to be, our next step. It's going to go to our 3rd birthday in January, and I'm telling you, the birthday is going to be big. It's going to be a party and event, because we do events, we feed people, we love on people. This is our next step. I want you to see this video.
Hey, Catafan. Just want to share a few things about what we have coming up, where we're heading as a church. We see you moving. We see you growing. We're moving. We're growing as a church. But the key to continuing that growth isn't just taking a step or taking a step here and there. It's learning how to not stop. By learning how to not stop, that's the only way you're really going to truly see what happens when we go all in. So for 5 weeks, December 16th through January 3rd. We're really going to dig into this thing. And but this is more than a series. It's not just a series. This is going to set the tone for the direction we're heading as a church into 2020 and beyond. So we're asking you not just to bring people and invite people, but we want you to make extra effort. Put some extra effort into being here all 5 weeks, because I'm telling you, you don't want to miss what God's going to be speaking through these messages. It's going to be an incredible time. So we're going to go into 2020 knowing how to overcome the things that stop us being on our path. We'll see y'all next week.
I want to tell you something. That's our theme. That is 2020. Don't stop. We've talked about for the last couple years, what do we say? You move, God moves. God will not move. But a lot of times we move for a day, a week, a month, but we stop. And we're wondering why God's not working. It's because you're stopping. You're going in default. We're going to dig into Scripture. Christmas at Catalyst is going to be a part of this theme this year. December, Christmas, we're going to grow together. We're not going to just learn what it's like to move. We've been moving. We've grown. Every year we've seen crazy things in this church. But 2020, we're going to learn. We're going to go in there. We're not stopping. Because you squelch everything in your life when you stop. And we're not going to stop. So we're going to see not what it looks like to move. We're going to see what it looks like to a lifetime of movement. Y'all ready for that? Don't stop. This is the big deal. We're launching Categear, new Categear today. We are carrying this thing out there. We want people in the community to see Don't Stop and ask, because Catalyst, we're going to be a church that doesn't just move. We're going to be a church that keeps moving. And we're going to see what that looks like in your life. So we're launching a whole new thing of Categear. Sarah, you want to come? She's got it on. This is us.
Hey, y'all. Can y'all hear me? Hello? Okay. Yeah, I'm really quiet. This is our new shirt. We have it in short sleeve and long sleeve. We want all of y'all to get excited about this new direction with us. If you want one, they're $12 for the short sleeve and $15 for the long sleeve. And you can go see Brock. He's selling them at Categear. Do you want me to give? Okay, so we have a special guest here today, Santa. He is waiting in the lobby. In order to keep this thing organized, we had a sign-up sheet, and a couple of y'all have already signed up. I'm going to read the first few on there, and y'all can kind of head out there quickly after the service. And then if you're not on the list yet, make sure you go put your name on the list, because we're going in that order. You can kind of enjoy all the rest of the activities going on and just listen for your name on the microphone. We're going to have a Christmas movie up here, and Christmas crafts, Christmas cookies for the kids, hot cocoa in the lobby, so feel free to enjoy all of that while you wait. First 3 people on the Santa list are Kane Millions and the B family and the Bernardos. Y'all aren't ready yet? The Bernardos and then the Wyatts. So if y'all could go ahead out there, everyone else get your name on the list, and then y'all can go pick up your kids and then come back.
Stand with me. We're going all in. Y'all ready? We're not going to stop. Come in December. Bring somebody. Bring yourself. We're going to keep growing this Christmas. On your way out, look at your neighbor and say, don't stop. Go. Love y'all. Good to have you.